Okay, we are joined by one XLeague legend, BJ Beatty, talking some XLeague. So, like, the season's starting this week. It's here. It's coming. It's finally here.
Yep.
I'm hype.
Yep. 2 days for us, 3 days for you. Or
It's the 10th,
2
right?
days, same thing. Yeah. Yeah, it starts this Saturday is the first round of games.
It's basically, it's like 2 days for us because it's our Friday night.
Yeah. So you'll probably be like watching high school football and XLeague all at the same
Exactly. Well, I finally figured out how to actually get it to stream for me. So I bought the package and I can watch the games live.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I think they added like an English, instruction.
They added the instructions. I'm just waiting for the English broadcast now. I'm gonna have to do it myself.
Oh.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna experiment a little bit. I might stream on Twitch and have the games going on my Twitch while also like commentating over it. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it goes.
Well, we don't have it confirmed yet, but just hold out for that English broadcast. It might be on the way. You
Put it on the burner right now.
You might see your boy with the Aloha shirt on with the mic.
It'll be just like watching the old Hawaii games. God, that'll be awesome.
Yeah. So sorry to like just go off. So my favorite sports broadcaster, you talk about the old Hawaii, was the big dude, Robert K. Kaula.
Yep.
Good family friend of mine. Missed that big dude. Like seriously, like
legend, one of the goats.
He was at my wedding. He was at when my uncle got drafted in NFL. Like he's been a big, like dude used to go out of his way to try and feature me when I was in high school. Like super good dude. So like when I say like I'm gonna don the Aloha shirts, that's because that's for him. So
that's perfect.
Yeah, we'll see. We're trying to push for it. So we're working on it.
I like it. So we've got the season coming up.
Mm-hmm.
We can go through the teams real quick.
Yep.
I think I got the teams listed in front of me. I'm just gonna want your take, like a quick little take on each one that I list out. So I'm gonna start with Division A. What do you think of the Panasonic Impulse?
Panasonic is going to be interesting. Roster-wise, they're loaded. I mean, they're pretty much their skills. They have a lot of kids who are mixed. So they grew up they're born in Japan. I think 2 or 3 of them were born in Japan, but they lived most of their life in the U.S., played ball in the States. So they don't count against you as your imports.
That's awesome.
I think
love
they have
those leagues do that.
And then you also have like probably the steal that nobody really talked about was the steal of the whole league was they took receiver from Elecom, Alfonso, big target, huge target, long, lanky. And so you add him with, they have a tight end, they have a receiver that are technically American, but they don't count to roster, a running back that doesn't count to your import roster. And then you bring in a pretty dynamic looking quarterback in Jalen Henderson. I mean, where are you going to stop, And then on defense, they have pretty much the same thing. They have, I think they have 2 guys on defense that don't count towards the import count because they graduated from a university here in Japan, David Motu and Moses Wiseman. Then you're also adding in another guy who doesn't count towards the import in Les Moreau. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, Les, my bad, but he's at the CFL right now. And when he's done with that, he's going to join their roster after that season. So, you're going to have, and then you have the MVP.
They'll get that mid-season, late-season boost right there.
Yeah, so, if he comes back healthy, right, that's a guy you can just throw in and then you have, Jabari Williams, who was the league MVP last year.
Our boy. Love that guy.
Yeah. So now, you know what I mean? Like, stacked across the board. So they're going to be, and they fell short. So, we're going to see what they got going for them.
I feel like, in my opinion, they might be the favorite going into this year. Like, they did fall short.
For you? Mm-hmm.
They did fall short. I'm just trying to. So I'm gonna be doing a thing every week where I'm gonna try and set like gambling lines for the XLeague because you can't find them anywhere. So I'm gonna try in my head to set them for myself. I'm trying to think. I'm looking down the line to see if I can do win totals. Not gonna do that this season, but I'm in my head. I like like what Panasonic's doing a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Another thing that they added a quarterback coach who also came over from Elecom with their receiver. Went to the same high school as me, Inoke Funaki, super knowledgeable guy, right? So now, not only do you bring in imports, and they seem to be working together from everything I've heard. They're gelling, they're bonding. Now you bring in a coach who kind of can play that middleman on offense, because I know the last couple of years that was kind of a thing with their quarterbacks and their OC and the Japanese coaches, right? There was kind of nobody in the middle to kind of bridge the gap. So there was kind of always that wedge. So, we'll see how big of an impact Inoke has as a coach there.
It's gonna be very. They're a team to definitely watch out for.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think about IBM? What do we think about the Big Blue?
IBM is a team that could sneak up on a lot of people. They added Jarrell Presley at running back. That guy, you look at him, right, and you look at his stats, right? He's not very tall, he's not. But that guy, I've seen his highlights. I've met him in person. Good, fun guy, man. It's going to be so fun to watch him play. But he runs so angry, and I love it.
I love a good small guy who's just mad when he runs. God, I love that.
And he fits. He's not that big. Big bruiser running back, but he fits so perfect to IBM's play style, right? Spread it out, sling the rock. They're gonna pass like 40, 50 times, right? But that's because they never really had a running back. When I was playing against IBM, we almost threw any game plan for the run game out, because we were like, they're going to run it like 3 or 4 times, and then they're going to give up on it and just try and pass. So now they have a running back, and like, he's not a big guy, so he doesn't need gigantic holes, and he's got that speed where if you throw it off, you get it out to him quick, and you find that mismatch with a linebacker, he's going to break for big plays. They're going to have Omi for a full season on offense, and him and their quarterback, can have a full season together. So that's going to be fun. And then the guy who I think that everyone's going to forget about is John Stanton, their tight end. Because now, right, you have the new running back, right? Everybody's going to be looking at him. You have Omi, who's the big name receiver. So John kind of falls down in the pecking orders. So if you don't actually take care of your game plan, John's going to start hitting you, and he's going to start running. He's not going to hit you for big plays, but he's going to hit you for 7, for 12 yards, for those, he's going to come in clutch when you need that.
He's going to be the conversion guy.
Yeah, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 10. That's the guy to watch more than Omi, in my opinion. Defensively, they brought in Mike Taylor from the Challengers. Super high energy guy. Him and Brooks together, they're both loud, aggressive guys, so they're going to be fun to watch. A big steal they got for Japanese players was and I forget, everybody just calls him Junzo. Japanese cat, I think he's like 6'4", 230.
Whew.
Yeah, like that was a steal that I don't know how he was playing with the Suns until this season. And I remember watching him in college and like, holy smokes, this guy is huge. Like, he's got the size. And our DCs were like, oh, well, he doesn't really this, and this. I'm like, you can't teach that. We can teach him skills. Like, where else are you going to find a 6'4", 220 DN in Japan? Like, what? And IBM stole him, like, from out under everybody's noses. Like, seriously, like, when I found out he was going to IBM, I was like, wow, that's a steal. Yeah. So
IBM, I'm excited to see how they kind of progress throughout this. The main thing, I think, is the development of the run game, like you mentioned. Mm-hmm. I think that's a huge factor for them, because I always view IBM as like the threshold. Like, they're always like trying to break in, trying to like get to the top. Mm-hmm. But they're just not quite there. I wonder. I think you're right. I think they're gonna maybe get somebody this year. There was
always that, they were always like that. Just that one step, or there was that one little piece that was missing, and maybe Jarrell is that piece, and we'll see.
He could be. What about Nojima? What do we think about Nojima?
Nojima, I mean, they're another team. Like a lot of people look at that block and they're like, "Oh, Panasonic's going to dominate it," and I'm kind of like, "Well, Rise took them to the end. I think I forget the final score, but it was a 1-possession game. You know, they didn't really put away the Rise that a lot of people thought Panasonic was going to do, and they were right there. You know, they got their quarterback Kurt, who's got. I mean, if that guy gets in full stride, I think he can cover like 4 or 5 yards. He's so long, it's not even funny. They've got like probably the biggest tight end in the whole X League. I think. I forget what his name is. Wow, hold on, let me. Well, I mean, he didn't play last year against us.
Ooh.
So his visa was like delayed. So he didn't play against us, and he didn't play against Panasonic. So we got kind of lucky there in a sense, because, Darnell Jenkins, dude is like 6'6", 6'7", and like 100 or 260 pounds. You know what I mean? Jeez. And he can roll. Like, as big as he sounds, he can roll. Like, I think he ripped off like an 85-yard touchdown last year against the Lions, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a big boy. And there's not a lot of DBs or linebackers that can compete with that. So, you know, we're gonna see, right, if they can put him in situations.
They're always a wild card to me. Whenever I see them, I can never get like a good read on Nojima. They're unreadable. If I'm going with the CFL terms, like how I've been described, because I've been covering the CFL more recently, they're the Montreal Alouettes of the X League for my CFL listeners. Like I don't understand them ever.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is the other big piece that they really got is the receiver who came over from Fujitsu this year, Junpei. He's not a big target. He's like Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type of guy. But it's his leadership that'll probably be big as far as their team goes. I mean, the guy was. So when Fujitsu went on like their 4-peat, he was their captain. You know, and everybody loved him. Everybody respected him. Like, even as he left Fujitsu, like all those guys, they love him. They still cheer for him.
Oh, he's the emotion of the team. He's the emotional leader.
Yeah, he was so everybody always said like he had the heart of a lion. That's always the term I heard when it came to Junpei. And even when you play him, like, dude don't back down, like you know, and so that might be a big factor for them as well. So you got him, you got Hagi as the other receiver who's probably gonna be the, take the roof off on you guy. He's got wheels. You know, and then defensively, they have Lee Hightower, who, in my opinion, last year was the best DB throughout the whole league. He had that defense rolling, and he was the only one. You know, they had an empty spot, or no. He was the only one for a while. But they, what was his name? Michael Scott. I think he went to play for the USFL this past spring. But like Lee had that DB group rolling. I mean, they completely. Panasonic last year was a sling it team, and he completely took that air attack out, you know, and he had all those DBs flying around. So if they could play at that level again, you know what I mean? Damn, IBM, Panasonic, it's gonna get real interesting, you know.
Things could shake up really cool in Division A. What do we think about Mitsubishi?
Mitsubishi is gonna be interesting, because a lot of guys, right? Social media tells all. Yeah. Their D lineman Paul Boyett isn't even in Japan yet. It's game week. He's not here.
That's interesting because I don't know about for the people that are listening, that's a time change and a half that takes some real adjusting.
So I don't know. I don't know if their quarterback is here. I don't follow their quarterback on social media. They brought in a quarterback this year. I don't know if he's here either. You know. So yeah,
maybe early fade of the Lions. Maybe an early fade in the early season they could pick it up. But early fade. I'm getting the Lions. The Lions are in my head right now. I think Friday morning where I'm at, the Lions will be out. So like they're forming.
Yeah, and their story is kind of interesting because they took like a 2-year hiatus, and then like even I think. Last season they didn't start.
No, they didn't
midway through the season.
Yeah, they were. They were the weird.
They showed up like Yeah. So
and when they did play, they like got demolished because they had like no play, and that was weird. I remember that.
Yeah. So, but and like that's the hard thing, right? So with the X League, everything is all company based, and a lot of those guys work for the banks. So a lot of the reason why they weren't playing, I think 60% of their roster all work for the Mitsubishi Bank. If I'm just kind of throwing it out. Yeah. I know a majority of them do. And the bank was kind of like, hey, with COVID and everything, they're kind of like, we can't have you going to practice. We can't have you doing this stuff. We can't have you doing this. So that was the big reason. And then like, even, as the season went, the companies were still kind of like, hey, we don't want you doing this yet. We don't want you doing this yet. We don't want you doing this yet. And so when they finally did play, it was like most teams are mid-season, and these guys had like 4 practices together.
I was going to say, like, they didn't practice at all season, and then they just start, like, while these guys are already halfway into a full season with practices.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you take off in 2020, they didn't do nothing. They literally just were at home watching everybody else play.
I'm wondering how a whole year and a half is going to affect these guys. Also, shout out to Google for translating DB to database. That was confusing me at first to figure out what position these guys play. I was like, well, database. They have a lot of data people for this.
Yeah, so they're going to be an interesting team, and we'll see what they look like this weekend.
They're the definition of an unknown. I have no idea. Yeah. No idea. I'm not expecting like a ton of good things from them, but I have
no idea, and I'm here. And I'm here in Japan, and I have no idea.
What about the acai beer?
They'll be. I think they'll have some struggles, but they'll be interesting to watch because they have Obick's former quarterback Jimmy Lockeray. He moved over there immediately after the summer. We'll see what he can do to improve that offense. I think they're very thin at offensive line. We scrimmaged them back in the spring, and their offensive line, I want to say they maybe had 8. So they don't even have enough to have 2 full lines. They have some good receivers though, 83 Hayashi, I want to say. Yeah, Hayashi, yeah. So he came off a nasty leg injury a couple years back. But he seemed to be moving around pretty good. Big body target. He's going to go up, get the ball for you. And then on defense, they have Ryan, I don't even know how to say his last name, Boeing from Fresno State. From what I heard, they've been using him at nose. I know Silver Star runs a 3-4 front. So it'll be interesting to see him use that nose. A lot of, being a former D lineman myself in the X League, we get a lot of attention. And when you're right there in the middle, you could get a lot of attention, so you're not going to have a lot of wiggle room. So we'll see how he does, his first year out here in Japan.
Last in the division, what do we think of the Deers? Moving up, this is their first time in the Super, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, they've been down there for
a minute.
They've been down there for a long time. Yeah, 3 years, 4 years maybe. Yeah. The Deers, they're kind of similar to the Lions, like I haven't, because with a lot of the area teams, I don't get to see them because I'm practicing. The area and the Super, we kind of take, turns on the weekends playing. So I never really got to watch them. But I know they brought back their quarterback, Kato Shohei, and he was like, their guy for years. Very actually, how would you describe him? Very mild-mannered, cool in the pocket, never really gets rattled, kind of their fearless leader guy. But he's not like very loud. Like he just goes about it. Like there's like that just calmness about him. That's always kind of frustrating as a defender because no matter how many times you get to him or you hit him, like you don't know if you're bothering him or not.
So he's the Andrew Luck of the X League is what you're telling me.
Yeah, without the whole like, hey, good hit. Or, like he just doesn't say anything. Like he's super just like so. Like, I never knew. Dead. Yeah, like I never knew if I was rattling him or not. Like like even when I would sack him or like even get close and just hit him or grab him and pull at him, like I don't know if I ever bothered him. And it's funny enough is he is actually a coach at the University of Tokyo with me. So this past weekend, I kind of joked. We were at the Tokyo Dome. I was like, hey, remember the last time we were here? I was like, yeah, I sacked you to end the game. And he was just kind of like, Really?
I think the Deers might be the team I'm getting behind because I'm always a fan of the pluralization, the fact that they put the S at the end of Deer. I'm for it. The Deers.
Yeah.
All day.
And they got a lot of young talent this year.
They got heart.
A lot of their rookies, and there's two in particular, and they're University of Tokyo guys. They're rookies this year, 2 D linemen, and I'm excited to watch them. Masuda and Ueno. The funny thing is everybody goes by last names here, so I actually don't even know their first names. I just call them I call them by their last names, like seriously, and like that's what I know them as. But I'm excited to watch them. Like they were, the XLeague Instagram, like they were doing promo videos for the teams. They were the 2 guys selected for defense. And I was like, wow, like these are 2 guys that I used to help coach. Like this is awesome. So, I'm excited to kind of watch them. I actually might go watch them this Sunday. I think they kick off at 10:30. So we'll have practice later in the day. So I might be able to go watch and yell at them from the stands.
They do play at 10:30. That's a big welcome. Them versus IBM. We'll get into that later, but that's a good one. So now we get to Division B, starting off at the top with Fujitsu. What do we think?
There's not enough to say. I mean, they're stacked. Right. They've reloaded. I mean, they just had their star receiver just get invited to the international player pathway to the NFL. Ricky Matsui, and he's a big boy. Funny thing is, all these years I've been playing against Fujitsu, I never really got close enough because he's like the outside receiver. He's the deep ball guy. So I never really got close enough to him to realize how big this guy was. He's as tall as me, maybe a little bit, maybe like a wee bit taller, maybe. Japanese cat, very aggressive, goes after the ball. They easily have, no offense, Panasonic, they have the most solid O-line. They have their quarterback Takagi. Now you got, they have a stable of running backs. You have Trayshawn who's coming back, who, I talked to a couple weeks ago. I asked him because last year he was still kind of coming off a knee injury and it was still kind of dealing with it and stuff like that. And he said, I never really did feel 100%. But this year, he said he's firing on all cylinders. And and that's not as a defender, I don't want to hear that because he's a big back and he actually moves a lot faster than he looks. Smooth running back and a heavy boy to take down, big boy. You got Samaji on the outside, you got Ricky on the outside, and they have their OC Pierre Ingram. I mean, he draws up all kinds of stuff. So, he does a lot of window shot dressing, for defenses, and you have to be very disciplined to go against them. On defense, they're stacked again. Their D-line, their whole D-line, pretty much, I want to say, you got JoJo in the middle. Then you got 2, I forget their names, and I'm so sorry, guys. They're not the biggest interior guys, but they're quick and they're heavy and they got that low center of gravity, so they're hard to move out the way. They got their linebacker. He was just playing in the XLeague, I think, last year, right? Yamagishi. I forget where he was. I think he was at Montreal for a little bit.
It does sound.
Yeah, he was there with my former teammate Lee Taku. But he's back here. He's here full time. He's, the CFL isn't even he was I'm here. I'm all in on Fujitsu. And that guy flies around. I mean, when he was here before he went to the CFL, you turn on a film and anywhere you go, he's either making the play or he's in the frame when the play is done, So as a defender, as somebody who watches a game, as a defender, that's one of the biggest things that you ever want to be. When the play is done, you're either making the play or you're damn near close or you're within there. Every single play, this guy is just somewhere near you if you're the ball carrier. So that's a scary sight because now you have him back full time. Then you got, the guy who's been doing it forever, Adiami, locking it down in the back end. So, They're well coached. They've been winning forever, and it's a culture that they've built. So somebody's gonna have to try and take it away from them because they're not gonna give it up. They're not going to give it away very easily.
They're like the damn Patriots of this league. They're so
pretty
good.
Much
always.
Yeah. I don't know, Patriots. I don't know. We'll see.
No, I mean, like not the Patriots as of now, but
never since number 12 left, it's been kind of rocky.
Well, we'll say Patriots of like the last decade and a half.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. But yeah, Fujitsu's got it. I mean, they've got something good, and they don't look like anybody's. Until somebody comes and seriously just rips it away from them, they don't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon.
Okay, up next, the Obick Seagulls. Just skip past this one. We won't talk about it all. It's fine.
No. You got to, right? You got to. Because
you got to.
Why? It'll be interesting. I'm just gonna say it. It'll be interesting. All personal things aside, I mean, they don't have me. They don't have my brother, and you just rip pretty much your heart of your defense out 3 months before your opening game. And, this team, I have a lot more inside knowledge than any other team, but it's just, they're still trying to find their way. They're still trying to find their way with everything, and I mean, if you start going to personnel, right, then now they have Jason Smith at quarterback. He hasn't played quarterback since high school. So, right? What's that going to look like? What's he going to be like? Really, he hasn't played. So if you think about it, right? He hasn't played quarterback for almost 6-7 years. I want to say maybe more. I forget how old he is.
He's 28.
So 8-9 years, right? So
it's been almost a decade.
Right? And now you're going to throw him he's been a receiver this whole time. And now you're going to be like, all right, cool, go back to quarterback. And that's not a position that you can just, oh, yeah, okay, all right, cool. Like line up and just start playing. So we'll see how he does, and yeah. And I mean, obviously with everything that happened in the spring, right? And the team's still reeling, like, can those guys bring them together, right? And then you go look on the defensive side, right? You got Sean and you got Cardell, right? How is that going to look? What is that going to work like? What is that dynamic with all those players going to look like with everybody dealing with all of everything that happened in the fallout? Like, are they going to be able to be like, all right, cool. Like we have to take care of business, or is everything going to linger? Is everything, there's a lot of stuff that's going on that team, and, it's not all on the surface. So does all of that start to come out to play as the season goes? And, it can go one of two ways. It can go good, or it can get really bad for them. And, and we'll see. And all I can do now is sit back and just like,
that's kind of where I'm at too. Like the team can either like through all the emotional or whatever, like turmoil, drama and everything like that, they can come together as players who still there can like lock together and maybe right the ship or something. Or it, like you said, it can go all haywire and just create like a cloud over the team for the entire season, which is just
the cloud ain't going nowhere.
No, it's not going anywhere. But it's like, how are they going to deal with it?
Yeah, and I mean, and it's a truth that you have to. And it's not the Japanese way, but you're going to have to hit that thing head on. You got to deal with it. And, for the players, I think, like emotionally, I don't know. Because me and Bronson were always the guys when things were going bad in a game, our players started to like fade out on us. Me and my brother were very quick to be like, hey, you're good. Forget it. That play's over. We still got this to go. So we need you to come back, lock it in. And then also to maybe a thing that's even bigger is that me and my brother could speak some Japanese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean, Cardell, and Jason can't speak a lick of it.
That's probably a decent factor, I would think.
That's going to be an issue.
Right? And then you got to think about it, right? When I would get pissed at my teammates, there's a level of trust there. There's a level of respect there. They know I'm not coming at them because I don't like them. I'm not coming at them because I hate them or I think that they suck. they understand that I expect the best out of them, and that I think that they can be played better than they can play. So now, when things start to go haywire, right? How is Jason gonna act? How is Cardell gonna act? How is Sean gonna act? Now, and if they act a certain type of way to our teammates, how is that teammate gonna take it? Right? So now all these dynamics come into play, and that's where I kind of sit back and go like, none of this ever made sense, but it happened, and now I just got to sit back and watch how it unfolds.
I do want to put on record, we will burn the company of Obick to the ground if you ask, because we are 100% a BJ Beatty podcast, first and foremost. So you say the word, I have guys. I have people. Speaking of which, speaking of burning, the Tokyo Gas creators up next on the chopping block.
Tokyo Gas. So this is a hard team for me because I am born and raised from.
Yes. I've seen them play. Maybe one of the worst blowouts I've ever seen in any football level whatsoever was like them either 1 or 2 years ago.
Oh, against Panasonic?
I think so. It was like 77 or 80 to nothing. Oh. It was brutal.
Wow.
You're about 7 years late to the party, my man.
No, I knew they were bad.
I played in a game that makes that look like nothing.
God.
It was, I think, I want to say it was my 3rd year in the XLeague. And we played a team who's now, the way everything's structured now, they're in the X2 area. I forget, I think their sponsor changed again, but they were the Cranes. Jim, it took me longer.
The Black Eagles, maybe?
No. They're
like
X2.
Oh, they're X2. Way low. Okay.
Like, before, like it used to be there was the disparity was even bigger.
Yeah.
Jim, I won a game 111-0.
I love it. Okay. You want to know how many times we passed the ball? Well, like
12.
I was gonna say like 20.
7. We were 7. Listen. I still remember these stats. We were like 7 for 7 for like almost 200 yards of passing, and then we had like 600 yards of rushing.
God, I wish the XLeague did better of keeping stats, because that would be the craziest stat line I think I've ever seen.
We had, this is another one. We had a 21-yard punt return touchdown. 21 yards.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So I almost blocked it, and he kicked it super low, and it was like a dead shot right to our safety. Our safety caught it on the 21 and ran it right in.
Wow.
It was back. I played, listen to this. I still remember this. I played 9 plays.
9.
I put more,
God.
And not to be disrespectful, but it was longer for me to warm up than it was to play. Because it was, so we went 3 and out. Offense went, my coach took me, KJ, he took the whole starting D line out. Okay, and this is when, it was still 12 minutes, it was 12-minute quarters. He took the entire starting D line out. There was 5 minutes left in the first quarter. And he was like, you guys are done. And he was like, you guys are done for the day. And I went, what? And he's like, yeah, you guys are done for the day. And I was like, oh shit, well, all right. And I looked at KJ and I was like, well, what do we do now? I'm like, I mean, how much can I help my teammates out here right now, And I got that. I think we had 600-700 yards rushing, something stupid. And I mean, like I said, we only passed 7 times.
Yeah,
so we were just trying to run the ball, get the clock running. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell my running back hey, if you get this gigantic hole and you see
just
the
take
end
a knee.
zone, and
just take a knee.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell a running back that. Yeah, and we were shuffling our running backs, so that was the crazy thing. I think 2 of them were if it would have been a good day for fantasy, that's all I'll say.
Oh my freaking word!
I think 4 of our running backs had over 130 yards rushing or something stupid like that. It was insane. Yeah. So I mean, but Tokyo Gas, going back to Tokyo Gas. So this year they pretty much revamped as far as the imports go. brand new, everybody, all 4 of them. And it's a team that I'm gonna cheer for very hard, just because 3 of the dudes have a very close connection to me. 3 of them are from Hawaii. Reese Foy, Kanawai Noah, and Kalana Apelu. Crazy connection to all of them. Okay. Reese Foy, when he was in high school, and he was a junior in high school, me and my uncle Chris actually helped out his high school. We used to help coach the D-line when he was a junior in high school. And had I been playing this year, that game would have been circled big time for me. And like we were talking in the spring, you know, he's like, hey, I'm coming to play for Tokyo Gas. And I'm like, well, bad choice, because we play you guys this year and I'm going to sack you at least 8 times. And, you know, he's like, oh, come on, BJ, he's like, you used to be my coach. I was like, yeah, exactly why I'm going to try and sack you at least 8 times. And I'm going to try and destroy you. And he was just like, man, you haven't changed. No, but, you know, Reese is, you know, he's not the big guy. I think he's about 5'9", 5'10". You know, he's not the biggest guy, but he plays with a lot of heart. So I'm excited to watch him play. You go to his receiver, Kanawai Noah. Guy was I think he still holds the record. He holds the record for the most receiving yards in a season in high school for the state of Hawaii. And he did it with a broken arm.
Jeez. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And unfortunately, he played at that stupid college that's in the middle of, what was it? What was that college? Nebraska or something like that?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, unfortunately, but poor guy. But
not the best for a receiver. Not the best for a receiver. I'll like.
I think he came, but I think he
was
came
good.
in. He wanted to cut. I think he transferred from Cal though, because you guys hired Scott Frost, and Scott Frost was hot before he got exposed. But you know, when he was at Central Florida, right, they were slinging the rock, throwing for like 400 or 500 yards. So that's why he transferred over there. Dude's an athlete. I mean,
he's good.
I know stories of him from when he was in Pop Warner. Like I've known about Kanawai since I think he was like 10. I mean, Hawaii's such a small island team. Yeah, I mean, you know, Kanawai is going to be exciting to watch because he's got aggressive. I love watching him go, you know, play, and he's like, he's a defensive player mindset playing receiver. Like the way I watch him, I'm like, dude, you should have played defense, but you can catch so good, it's not even funny. Like you got to go play offense. Then you go to Kalana, who, here's another crazy connection. My dad was one of his coaches when he was in high school, and I went to go help at the time, and he was a running back in high school. And I mean, like, he was the running back over there at his high school. And I mean, you know, talk about perseverance. Guy blew his ACL his junior year, comes back senior year, blows his other side ACL. Goes on, walks on to Oregon, gets a scholarship at Oregon. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and like I haven't seen that kid. You know, we had dinner a couple weeks ago, and like he was just laughing. He was like, "Man, I remember when you came to our practice," and I was like, "Who the hell is this white kid talking to us? Like, what?" And then like, he's like, and then I went home and I like Googled you, and I was like, holy crap, like, oh wow, like, you know. And he's like, man, and now it's just so crazy that, like, you know, and like when we got together, like I called my dad, like I FaceTimed my dad, and like I was like, hey dad, look who's here. And my dad didn't know that he was coming to Japan. And my dad was like, whoa, you know, and they were like catching up and stuff like that. And like, so for those guys, like I hope, you know, they're on a team that's always going to struggle, but I'm going to cheer for them as much as I can. Their new guy at the end, Matt, tall, lanky guy. He's about, I want to say he's about 6'5", long. I mean, you know, okay, long arms. So we'll see what he can do for them at the D line. You know, they're always a team that's, you know, traditionally, right, nobody really takes them seriously. But I think if they kind of change their culture, change their mindset, they could sneak up on a few people as well.
I think this year, I don't know how good they're going to be, but I think they're going to play with heart. I think they're going to have heart. And God dang it, I want to root for them.
You got to. I mean, right. If you're not the traditional power teams, you got to find something to give you an edge. And, hopefully, Reese, Kanawai, and Kalan and Matt, hopefully they can kind of change that culture they have over there at Tokyo Gas and kind of, instead of settling to just kind of be like, hey, we're here to start competing and start playing for championships.
Like just I want to see like the competitive games. I want to see heart in games. I don't want to see laying over anything like that. What do we think of Elecom?
Elecom is a big question mark for me. They're kind of a mysterious team. I mean, similar, right? All their foreigners are gone. They're all gone, and they're all either, I think Cody retired and he's back home in Arizona. Their top receiver went to Panasonic, and their DN went over to Obick. So they completely cleaned the board. Even Japanese players, I know they had a lot of players transfer out to other teams. So we'll see. I think right here, like I'm looking, I think they have like 7 O-linemen. 7, 8 O-linemen. So that's not a lot. And they have their new quarterback, David Pendell, right, from University of Connecticut. Yep. We're gonna see what he can do, right? He's a lot of these.
We know Eric's gonna be rooting for him.
I'm a UConn fan. UConn football.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I mean, I watched his highlights. Dude's got some moves. He's got some stuff like that. And I think a lot of who do they play first? They play the Challengers first, right? So I don't think
they play
the Challengers, right? Yep. Right? So I think he kind of gets a little bit of a taste into the XLeague, but I don't think he's not. In a sense, he's not getting thrown to the wolves where, like, what was his name? Gerard Evans last year against Tokyo Gas, right? His first game was against Panasonic. So he was probably coming in all kinds of confident. And obviously, you want your quarterback confident, things like that. And he just ran into a buzzsaw and he was like, whoa, what the hell is this? But I know David's been here for about 2 months now. So, I know he's been working with the guys, getting them better and stuff like that. I know he has a connection with their receiver, Devin Phelps. Yeah. Sorry. But he's, they have a connection. So we'll see what that looks like, right? He's mobile. A lot of, teams out here, they struggle with a mobile quarterback. So see how teams can contain him. On defense, they have their 2 new foreigners, right? They have Isaiah Pierre, who's a DB. They went DB, which is interesting, right? So, they're going to go on the side of like, hey, let's go shut down these passing options and kind of let, the pass rush try and get there, and we'll see what they can do there. I mean, they're a team, right? They're a question mark, and similar to how I kind of see Obick. Like, they could either come out and catch people off guard or, struggle throughout the year. So we're kind of interested to see how they work. They're kind of one of the teams I just want to see how they operate, how they play, and how they use their players.
Yeah, they're kind of in that category as well. There's like a whole group of teams that are in the question mark category for me. And why not better just to go off to the Beverage, to the Challengers, the team they're going to play week 1.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hard team for me to break down because, like I said, when they were in the area, I didn't really get to watch them much.
Yep.
I know some of their players. Their quarterback, Garrett. Dude's got an arm. Dude's got some swag to him. Plays him and Robert Johnson at receiver, right? They've got a good connection. Rob's a big receiver. He's a big-bodied receiver. Goes up for it. And we'll see how they can compete. In the Super against the tougher teams now. My favorite guy to watch, and this is the only reason why, is I remember I was watching film, I want to say 3 years ago. I was watching film to prepare for Sagami How to Rise. I think he's not their captain anymore, but their linebacker, number 0, Oe. This dude, and I counted it now. When he played the Sagami How to Rise, this dude had 23 unassisted tackles.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
Like, I was just like, where? And I looked this guy up. I see where he went to college. I go to our coaches, and I'm like, yo, where? Did you guys not know about this guy? He wasn't even a starter in college.
Really? Wow.
That's
And
nuts.
put it this, and the crazy thing was, I asked, "Oh, who started in front of him?" And they said his name, and I was like, "He doesn't even play anymore." You know, and that was why we didn't try to get him when I was at Obick. But I mean, you just talk about this guy is everywhere. You know, he is everywhere. Like, you know, and same thing. You know, he just pops up on the screen, and like it was like when I was watching film, I was like, "Yo, who the heck is this guy?" I'm like, because I think I watched like the first 2 series, and I was like, "This dude made every tackle." Like, whoa, what the, you know? And I started texting, you know, and then when I found out they were falling to the area, I was like, "Yo, let's try and go like, hey, you want to come play with in the super, or do you want to, you know?" And you know, but to be, you know, like the challengers, you know, they have a good one because he told you know, and he told me no. He's like, I want to stay with them, and I want to, you know, I want to help bring them back. And I respected that. I was like, hey, you know what? If that's what you want to do, I respect the hell out of it, and I wish you all the luck. And he's the guy this weekend I'm going to watch more than anyone when I watch this game.
I like it. Finish us off with the Fukuoka Suns.
Fukuoka Suns, I think they're one of the interesting teams because they're probably the most well-marketed team. Like they're whoever
they are all over social media. That's true.
Exactly. Whoever their marketing guy is, that guy is not paid enough. I would put money on that. He is definitely not paid enough to be doing all the things that he is doing. He or she, I'm sorry. But whoever that person is needs to be paid. But again, like it's another, you know, it's an interesting team, and you know, they've got a lot of hype because of the way they're marketed, right? They also have what's his name? Koji, who is some kind of, they call him a talent, right? So he's kind of like a TV personality kind of guy, right? He's all over TV, he's all over a lot of commercials, stuff like that. You know, so he brings in a lot of hype to their team. I know he's been working he used to play in college. He played at Jose, and then he took like, I want to say like a 16-year hiatus. Like, because how old is he now? Hold on. He is 34. So yeah, he took like, you know, like 10, 12 years off. And then came back to football, and he's been trying to get his body back into football shape and things like that. They also even brought back their D-line coach, who's 39, who's actually a very, like, I follow him on Twitter and his Instagram. And he's actually very, like, knowledgeable, and he makes things very easy. Like, so he takes a lot of NFL film, a lot of the pass rushers and their techniques, and then he breaks it down in Japanese. He just breaks it down on what their footwork is, what their eyes are, where their hands need to be. And, you know, even again, going deeper, like why he used this technique in this situation. Like, so he's one of the guys in Japan that's trying to like help the D-line community really step up. And he came out of retirement. You know, he's 39 years old, but he scrimmaged against the Rise. I think he had 2 sacks. So, yeah, 39 years old. I'm over here. I'm like, damn. I'm 34, and I'm like, I was going to hang it up this year, right? I'm like, God, the heck no. Somebody came up to me and like, hey, BJ, you want to come back and try it out? I was like, no. not at 39. I was like, got to keep my hips good for my golf game. But, you know, yeah, they're another interesting one. You know, they got their 2 foreigners that they have, Daniel Wise and Germany Edward. They're both listed at running back. So, you know, that'll be interesting to see how they're used, because Daniel's by trade, he's a receiver. Dude's got wheels. He's not the biggest guy, but dude's got speed, you know. And like, yeah, this weekend we'll see. I'll see how that game turns out. I think they got the later game. I'll be able to watch some of it before I get to practice. But, you know, I'm kind of interested to see how, you know, I know they have the confidence. You know, they play Obick, and I'll tell you right now, my experience, and one of the things I never really liked when I was at Obick was sometimes you kind of overlook those teams.
Week one.
I don't know. I don't know how this game is going to be, right? Because if one team is still struggling with their emotional damage, and one team is just coming in like, we ain't got nothing to lose, let's throw the book at them. you know.
They
And I know
they got Elicom on deck. Obick does.
Yeah, and I mean, like, right. So if I watch week 1 and I see how Elicom operates, you know, that might be, you know, and if they're looking at Elicom, right, or, you know, I know they're looking at Fujitsu, and they don't play Fujitsu to the end of the year.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of funny. I saw on somebody's social media, they had, you know how like colleges, right? They do the countdown to game day, right?
Yeah.
But you do the countdown to game day for who? For your next opponent, right? So there was a countdown for the Suns game. There was a countdown for Fujitsu. And I'm looking at that like, and that was always the one thing I never liked. I was like, why am I worried about them? I got to play 4 other teams before I get to them.
Yeah.
You know, and that was something I would always preach. I'm like, why are we worried about them? They ain't worried about us. They're worried about Tokyo Gas right now. You know, but that's just one of those things, right? Like, they mentally, if they're already in your head and you don't play them for another 2 months, you know, and you start putting it on social media, you know, Fujitsu's probably gonna say, "Oh, we're not even thinking of you guys yet," you know. And it's one of the good things. One being retired, like my ears are everywhere. Even when I was playing, my ears were everywhere. But now, not being guys know
you can just sit back
involved.
and absorb it all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm taking it all in. And guys, you know, they call me, and like even like guys will call me and ask me like, "Hey, how's this team?" And I'm like, "Oh, you know, this is where they're good at. This is where they're not good at." You know, I'll feed the information that I know up until this point that I've played, but I'm never gonna share the insider stuff, you know, because then that's how I'm gonna lose my inside. But you know, that's, you know. But it's funny how everybody like calls me, and I'm like, I've become like this guy, like, "Hey, what about these guys?" Like, "Hey, what about these guys?" And I'm kind of like, "Oh, okay."
You're the shadow.
It's been
master
fun.
of the X-League right now.
It's been fun though. It's been fun, you know, because I don't really get to talk to the guys as much as I've talked to them in the last couple of months. So it's been fun.
That's sick. So take us through what like a season of the X-League is. Like how the season normally plays out, and then we'll cap it off with having you actually pick some games.
So the X-League this year, they changed their thing. So they brought up 4 teams from the area into the Super. So now that there's 12 teams in the Super, where for the last couple of years there were only 8. Where when it was only the 8, everybody would just play each other, and then you start going 1, 2, 3, 4. Where this year they broke it off into groups. So right, we talked about Block A, Block B. Mm-hmm. You're only just gonna play in your block now. So you have 5 regular season games. You're going to go to the quarterfinals, semifinals, and then what's now the Rice Bowl, what formerly used to be the JXB. So if you go your whole season and you win the championship, you're only going to play 8 games. Which is kind of, in my opinion, I don't like it. I think even just for players, like when we knew we're going to all play each other, like there's no hiding from anyone. You know, that was more exciting for us than this whole, like, you know, because now you're not going to get Panasonic versus Fujitsu. You're not going to get Obick versus Panasonic, IBM versus Fujitsu. Like, you're not going to have those games. And those are the games that people want to see.
It does suck a little bit that, like, even with the divisions and the blocks and everything like that, you couldn't have a couple, like, cross-block games just to like add 1 or 2 games even just to keep that. Yeah.
Like a what do you call it? Non-conference, right? Like
exactly. Yeah. Well, like NFL do it with like you play all the teams in your division twice, but then you play outside your division as well too. It'd be nice to have like a little protected game each year. Maybe it's something they experiment with next year. Maybe it's something they add. Maybe it's something they kind of I don't know.
I think they need to because also too, right? The way it's structured, and I'm just looking at it and just traditionally how the X League has always worked out, is you're still just going to have those powerhouses stay in the powerhouses, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and with the league this small, you want everyone to play everybody.
Yeah, and I think fans want to see that too, right? Like matchups, because the matchups change according to who you're playing, and now. Like sometimes Fujitsu and Rise were good. That was a good matchup, it'd be interesting to watch. Hey, like, not, traditionally, right? But like maybe, the Lions and Silver Star are playing, but like the Lions and Silver Star maybe play like Gas and all those guys, right? The Suns versus them, because now you can really see, right, how big of a gap everybody is and things like that. Where like if you just throw these guys with these guys, and the powerhouses are going to stay as the powerhouses. So.
Yeah, I think it's something they're going to need to kind of like tweak in the offseason to kind of see to get their full potential. So I don't mind like the divisions, I don't mind blocks, but you got to have everybody play in a league with only 12 teams. It's like a college football conference. You should have everyone playing everybody. Yeah. I can understand it if you're getting up to like 18 teams in a league, but we're not there yet.
So back in the day, that's what it was.
Yeah.
When I first came to Japan, it was 18 teams, 3 blocks. But see, even that format was kind of wild to me because so you'd have your 6 teams. So you play your 5 regular season games, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 would all get mixed up into like a round robin playoff. So technically you could be the 3rd seed and somehow get into the semis and be like a 2 seed or a 1 seed.
That is wild.
And then like the wild card was like envelopes. So like when there was that right, because so you had the 3 groups for the round robin, and whoever won that group got 1, 2, and 3. And then for that 4th wild card spot, it was like 2 or 3 teams would like someone in the association would have like an envelope or something, and then like they'd pull it, and like if you got the 1, you were into the playoffs.
Jeez.
And like if you got the other ones, you weren't in the playoffs. So like that's how and I mean they're working on it, and they're trying. I think the pace. I think everybody just wants the pace to like pick up a little bit more.
Well, that's what all these leagues are going for. CFL's going for it. USFL, XFL, they're all going for the pace. But I'm going to stand by. I think these leagues, especially when they're this tiny, they should be playing everybody. I will stand by that. Let's get you picking some games now before we send you off.
All right, week 1.
Game number 1, you got the Acai Beverage Challengers versus Elecom. I'm not gonna have a spread for you right now. I just want you to pick the winner.
That one, you know what? I'm gonna go.
This is a tough one to start out with.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out with Elecom right now. The only reason why I say that is because from a scouting standpoint, they're kind of unknown. So you're almost going into that game like, what do we prepare for? Elecom's quarterback last year and the quarterback this year, 2 different types. I think that's where, and then also too with the Japanese players, they have that super experience. They have that experience against playing the top teams. So I think that edge right there will kind of, I think it'll be a close game, but I think that little edge right there will kind of get them over the top.
That's what I'm lockstep with you there. I think Elecom wins in a sort of close one, maybe around a touchdown, maybe 10 or less points. Tokyo Gas versus Fujitsu. I think that's a pretty. I know you're rooting for your boys.
I don't want to do it, but yeah, I mean, Fujitsu is just firing on all cylinders. Guys are healthy, and
so
I think, and they just have they have that winning system, right? And then for Tokyo Gas, who's in a rebuild, right? They brought in all these new foreigners and imports, and all that culture trying to get together. They don't have that time where Fujitsu has that.
Especially week 1.
And and week 1 is just, they're just going to come firing all cylinders because they know what they have. Where Tokyo Gas, you still don't really know what you have. So that's going to probably be a big factor. But, I hope the Tokyo Gas goes out there, and I hope they have nothing to lose. Why not throw it all out there?
Well, your head says one thing. Your heart is with Gas.
Yeah.
Deers versus IBM versus Big Blue.
I'm gonna take IBM on this one. IBM. I think IBM's gonna take a big leap. Like everybody. They've been making the semis and things like that. But I think this year they're really gonna start to separate themselves. They have their veteran leadership. They have good leaders. They have great young players. They brought back their DC. What I didn't talk about was Shinzo Yamada, and I think that'll be big because last year both their offense coordinator and defense coordinator didn't speak Japanese. So now there's that DC and who can speak Japanese, who understands defense, and so I think IBM will win that one. I think the Deers are still trying to find themselves right now.
Yeah, I think especially week one, I'm gonna go with the teams that have been I'm gonna probably fade the area teams because they're jumping up, and these other teams that they're playing, they've been in Super for a hot minute. They've been playing against the best of the best. What about Acai Beer versus the Lions?
That one I'm taking Asahi Beer. Like I said, right now, I don't think Paul or their quarterback. I don't know if their quarterback is in the country, and that year and a half off that they had, they played half a season last year. I don't think they really did much in the spring with other teams. So, I don't think, in Asahi Beer, they're a team that's been there. They've been kind of going after it with each other and stuff like that. And from what I heard how they practice, they really get after it. So that one I'm going to give to the Beer. Asahi Beer.
Yeah, I can't in all fairness back a team that's been taking a break from football for basically the last 2 years.
Yeah.
What about the Rise versus the Impulse?
This one,
that's a game.
This is the game of the week, in my opinion, easily. This one's gonna be hard to pick, but the only reason why I'm gonna give it to Panasonic is because it's being played in Kansai. Right now, but this one, I think this one will be like last possession. This one's either going to be one of two things in my eyes. It's going to be a barn burner, or it's going to be like down to the wire, like you need that field goal or last minute possession. But I think Panasonic's going to pull it out there at home. They're sitting comfortably, sleep in their own beds. The Rise have to go down there, and we'll see.
I like it. Last but not least, Obick versus Fukuoka.
This one, I'm going to give it to.
Tough one.
I think the game won't be the blowout that it should be if you look at the rosters, right? And if you look at it traditionally, I don't think it'll be as bad of a gap as it should be. But I think Obick wins. I think their talent, their players will just separate them more than anything, and that'll kind of come when it gets later in the game. That'll start to separate the gap between the two teams.
I like it. Thank you, BJ.
Oh, no problem. Anytime.
The XLeague is here. I also just want to personally shout out 1 or 2 area teams, the Aswan Black Eagles and Nagoya Cyclones, because they both follow me on Twitter. So shout out them.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Anything else you want to shout out or talk about before we let you go?
No, I'm just thankful, you guys always bring me on, and just thankful for, letting me speak and just share with the XLeague. I shared a message with all the guys throughout the XLeague in my retirement video, and, guys have messaged me and things like that. I'm doing my best right now to try and expand the XLeague, working with the XLeague right now. We're going to, Jim, he was asking for some English content. I'm working on it. I actually have some, can't really show it, it's still top secret. We got some projects coming, so don't worry. We're getting there. We're getting there. I might be doing some broadcasting this year. Who knows? Might do some in English, might do some in Japanese. We'll see.
God, that'd be so awesome.
But
how's the coach life though? Before we let you go, how's the coaching life?
Oh, it's. I don't think we have enough time to talk about it, but no, it's like I was telling my wife this 2 days ago. So I had a meeting with my kids on Zoom, so I'm coaching at the University of Tokyo, who academically is the top university in all of Japan. And these kids, they're so good. We're having, we won our first game last weekend in the Tokyo Dome against the team that we shouldn't have beat or whatever. I don't believe in that, but we won our first game, preparing for our game. We have another game. We play this Saturday as well, so we're playing back to back. And so we had our walkthroughs on Sunday, going over our corrections. And after practice, I hand my kids these sheets. And it's nothing crazy. It's a little, I have one right here. It's just like some tips on like how for when they're watching film, right? because I know a lot of kids out here, they don't really have it. So I throw this at my kids. That we had a meeting. So that was Sunday. We have a meeting on Tuesday morning. I told them, okay, look, you guys got 2 days. I want you guys to fill all this out. I want you to give me guys your notes, what you see of the opponent. We meet Tuesday morning for about 2 hours. And like, it was so awesome to just hear them like, oh, I see this, I see this, I see this. You know, this is their top run plays. This is their best pass protector. This is their best run blocker, this running back, you know, and things like that. And like the confidence, because traditionally University of Tokyo is not a powerhouse team. So, you know, and they've always kind of like, oh, you know, like, yeah, we're not, you know, and they always kind of talk that way. And I told them that ends with me. Like, I don't ever want to hear you guys say like, I suck. I don't ever want to say it because I'm never going to tell you that. So that talking like that ends now that I'm your coach. And like now, and you know, when they were talking about going against the opponents and I'm, you know, asking them what kind of techniques are you going to use against these guys? They're like, oh, this guy looks like he struggles against this technique, so I'm going to use this. He looks like, you know, his footwork is bad, so I'm going to bull rush him and I'm going to push him all the way back to the quarterback. And like they're talking with this confidence, you know, and just I'm like sitting there and like at some point I like didn't really. I started kind of listening to what they were saying and just kind of soaking in just how much like these kids feel like confident in themselves. And like that was it's just so rewarding. And I've only been coaching for 3 weeks. And like it was like crazy where I'm like, oh, I get it. I get why people love to coach, man. Like this is why right here, right? Just hearing your kids and stuff like that. And I mean, shout out to my players, you know, four of them. I have 10 D linemen. 4 of them are going to be lawyers.
That's awesome. You're basically like, it sounds like Tokyo University is just like Stanford. Like, and you're trying to like turn them into like the Stanford of the early 2010s.
No, they're
I mean, they're above. Yeah, they're top. Yeah. I'm trying to like have a football equivalent.
Yeah. You know, and they're, you know, so it's such a blessing, and I'm thankful for the head coach, Mori-san, who in himself is a legend. Like I'm studying under probably one of the greatest coaches Japan's ever had. He, up until this last time around, he was always, I think, for like 4 or 5 straight teams, he was the national team for Japan. He was the head coach. So that's the guy I'm studying under now. So now I kind of can watch, you know, and I'm very ninja-like in that sense. I kind of always kind of have my eye on him and how he talks to players and how he kind of incorporates things with his team. So, but man, it's been a blessing. Like just with everything that happened within the last 3 months, you know, I told my wife with everything that's going on, right? Like me being a coach, you know, working with the XLeague to create some English content for fans. I mean, you know, and I brought you guys up, like the 2 of you. I brought up the fact that I did your guys' podcast to the XLeague. And I was like, these 2 guys have no ties to anybody. I was like, you guys aren't related to anybody. You're not somebody's cousin that plays here in the XLeague. But they somehow found the XLeague. They somehow found me. And like, you know, and so, you know, it's just been like, I told my wife, it's like that saying, right, with the bow and arrow, right? Like when life gets rough, it's just literally it's you know, it's God just pulling that arrow back, ready to launch you. And like, I mean, yeah, I'm nothing but blessed right now. You know, it's honor to be their coach, honor to be able to help the XLeague. Shoot, honor to be here talking football with you guys.
Hell yes. Where can the people find you, BJ?
Oh, yeah, my Instagram, Buffalo Soja, so Buffalo and then SOJA. And then I also have my football account. I don't know how much I'll be posting on there anymore but BJ _Beatty 23, all lowercase. So you can find me on my Instagrams there. My Twitter is BJ Beatty 59. You know, if you follow me, sorry, sometimes I throw out Japanese on there. You know, I interact with both Twitter worlds, Japan Twitter world and the US Twitter. So
it's wild, but Twitter at least has like a translator service that works, I would say 35 to 45% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I need to use it sometimes. Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. Thank you, BJ, for coming on. Glad to have you.
Guys.
Can't wait to have you back.
Anytime, man. Anytime.